Right, in this video, we're going to talk about adding and subtracting numbers in scientific notation. So I would like this to be page 26. Okay, page 26 in your journal. And at the top, you're going to write add and subtract scientific notation. Add and subtract scientific notation. I will give you several examples. I'll give you several examples of how we do this and how adding and subtracting numbers in scientific notation works. Some of you might have to go on to page 27, and that's okay. And we'll talk about that in a little while as well. But it works like this, okay? So you're going to see examples in your homework that look like this. You have a parenthesis, and it's going to be 6 times 10 to the third plus 2 times 10 to the third equals, okay? So you have to make sure you're writing that in your journal on the first line. Right? So a few things to look at. First thing, and I'm going to take my highlighter, and I'm going to highlight the exponents, because they are going to tell me a lot in this problem. I want to know if the exponents are the same. And I look at them, positive 3, positive 3. Exponents are the same. That's great when they're the same because it's less work that you're going to have to do. So 6 times 10 to the third plus 2 times 10 to the third. Right, so we're adding. I'm going to take this number and simply add. 6 plus 2, 6 plus 2 is 8, times 10. And now since my exponents are the same, I'm simply going to write 10 to the third. That's the answer to 6 times 10 to the third plus 2 times 10 to the third. Okay? The way that works is this, and please write this also in your journal. 6 times 10 to the third. Okay? Remember, positive exponent, decimal moves to the right. So this is actually 6,000, right? Because decimal's here in a whole number, 1, 2, 3. So 6,000 plus 2,000 equals 8,000, which is the same as that. Okay? So 6 times 10 to the third plus 2 times 10 to the third equals 8 times 10 to the third. Okay, please put a line underneath that example, kind of keep it separate from our next example. And I'm going to erase that part and give you another example. So skip a line underneath there, and we're going to do 2.13 times 10 to the fourth plus 1.7 times 10 to the fourth. And again, stop the video if you need to, making sure that you have this copied correctly. And again, with my highlighter, I'm going to highlight the exponents. Are the two exponents the same? Are they equal? Positive 4, positive 4. Yes, they are. That's good. Less work for me to do. So I take the number up front, 2.13, plus 1.7. And thinking back to our rules with decimals, we have to line up the decimals when we add. I'm going to put a 0 right there in the empty spot. Do the addition. 3, 8, 3. Is the decimal in the right spot for scientific notation? Yes, it is. There's only one number in front, so this is set up correctly. So then we have 3.83 times 10 to the 4th. Put a line under that, put a line under that, and then we'll be ready for our third example. I'm going to erase it, staying on page 26. Next example. We're going to try a subtraction problem. So we have 8.4 times 10 to the 5th minus 2.2 times 10 to the 5th. And again, first thing I look at are the two exponents. Are they the same? Are they the same exponent? I'd look, positive 5, positive 5. Yes, they are. That's good, because again, it's less work. And this time I'm taking note that I have to subtract this and this. And again, thinking back to our subtraction rules, right, we have to line up the decimals and do subtraction. 8 minus 2 is 6. Is the decimal in the right spot for scientific notation? Yes, it is. One digit that is not a 0, so this is correct. So we have 6.2 times 10 to the, and then whatever that exponent is, 10 to the 5th, and we're good. We're done. Okay. Again, put a line underneath this one. If you need to stop the video to make sure you have all that, please do that. Please stop the video. And we'll go on to our fourth example. Alright, so hopefully we can still get this on page 26. So skip a couple of lines underneath that last example. And this time, we're going to give an example where the exponent, or the two exponents are different. Okay? So we have 4.3 times 10 to the 7th plus 1.4 times 10 to the 5th. Right? And again, like I just said, we know they're going to be different, but I want to highlight them. So draw my attention to them. Positive 7, positive 5. The exponents are not the same. So in order to add these two numbers, we have to first write this in standard form. So in other words, write it the regular way, the way that we're used to seeing numbers. So thinking back to page 25, right, positive exponent tells the decimal to move that many times to the right. So this decimal is going to move 7 times to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can put it there. I'm going to put commas in right now to make it easier to read. And then we're going to add, and over here, positive exponent, decimal is going to move 5 to the right. So the decimal is here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to the right. Put my comma in to make it easier. So now I'm going to add those two numbers. I'm going to add those two numbers. So I'm going to take this one and put it underneath 43 million. So we're going to take 140,000, right? And we're going to add, because that's what we're doing, we're adding. 0, 0, 0, 0, 4, 1, 3, 4. Okay? So now I've added these two numbers in standard form. Then I have to change this back to scientific notation. So thinking back to our rules, right? The decimal has to go behind the first digit that is not a 0. So it's going to go here. Copy everything else until I have only zeros. So 4.314 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, we'll count it. I have to have it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's my answer. Okay, so again, yep, put a line underneath it, separate it from that in the next one. Again, stopping the video if you need to, making sure that you have that. If you have room on page 26, let's do another one there. And this one will be a subtraction problem just to show you how that works when the exponents are different. So we have 8.16 times 10 to the third, 10 to the third, let me rewrite that. And we're going to subtract 3.8 times 10 to the second. Okay, so again, I'm going to check, highlight those exponents. Are they the same? Positive 3, positive 2. They are not the same, so I have to write it in standard form first. Again, standard form, regular way of writing the numbers. So this one, I start with 8.16, positive 3, decimal is going to move 3 to the right. So it was here, 1, 2, 3, you can put a little decimal there to help you remember. That's where it goes. It was here, 1, 2, 3, 3 to the right. Subtract, the decimal was here, and I'm going to move it 2 to the right. So 1, 2, put it in if you would like. Checking again, it was here, 1, 2. Okay? And our rules for subtracting, right, we're going to line up those decimals. And we're going to do subtraction of 8,160 and 380. 0, can't do 6 minus 8. 16 minus 8 is 8, can't do 0 minus 3. 10 minus 3 is 7, 7 minus 0 is 7. Then I'm going to take that and I can change it now back to scientific notation. So the decimal goes after the first number that is not a 0. Copy everything else until we have just zeros. Times 10 to the, it was here, 1, 2, 3 to the right, makes it a positive 3. Okay? Again, put a line underneath that one. If you have room to do a few more examples, you may do that on 26. Otherwise, you may go on to page 27. Probably to stay the same in our journals, let's just go on to page 27. So even if you have room on 26, let's go on to 27. Okay, then we stay the same. Got a couple more things to talk about. So on page 27, okay, we're going to continue adding and subtracting here in numbers in scientific notation. This time we're going to go back to addition, but we're going to use a negative exponent. 3.7 times 10 to the negative fourth plus 1.9 times 10 to the negative 3. So just like our other examples, I'm going to check, I'm going to check my exponents. Well, let me try that again here. I'm not really sure what happened there. So So 3.7 times 10 to the negative fourth, right, plus, okay? So I'm going to check exponents. Negative 4, negative 3. The exponents are not the same. So anytime the exponents are not the same, with adding and subtracting, we have to write the number in standard form. So this time it's negative, and remember, negative exponent tells the decimal to move to the left. So in this case, it's going to move to the left 4 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put in the decimal and a 0. We check 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to add. Okay. This time, decimal is going to move to the left 3 places. So it was here, right? We had it here. 1, 2, 3. Put in the decimal, put a 0 up front. Check again. 1, 2, 3. Now we can add, right? So this number is going to go over here. And when we add numbers with decimals, we have to line up the decimals, carefully lining up. And if you want, right, we can put a 0 in that empty spot. And then we add 7, 12, 2, 0, 0, decimal, 0. So now we have it in standard form. Then we can bring it and change it back to scientific notation. So remember the rule. We look for our first number that is not a 0. Here it is. And I put the decimal behind it. So it goes here. Copy everything else times 10 to the, well, if it has to be here, but it started here, it would have to go 1, 2, 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3 to the left. So we have negative 3. Again, stop the video if you need to. Put a line under it. 2 more things to do here. 2 more quick things on page 27. All right. 11.47 times 10 to the third. Okay? This is not written correctly in scientific notation. The reason it's not written correctly is because the decimal is in the wrong spot. Right? Remember, we've talked about the decimal has to go behind the first digit that is not a 0. Okay? So it's in the wrong spot. We need to move it here. Okay, a couple of ways to do that, but I'll show you one way. So since it's in the wrong spot, I need to write it in standard form first. Right? It started here, I'm going 3 to the right, so 1, 2, 3. Okay? Then I can take it and write it in scientific notation. It should go behind this one, right? Okay? So if it's here, it now needs to go 1, 2, 3, 4 places to get to the end. Okay? That might seem a little confusing, maybe a little tricky at first, and we'll talk about a few of those in our packet later. But remember, the decimal has to go behind that first non-zero digit. If it's not, write it in standard form, then change it back to scientific notation. All right. And we'll do one more like that, so yep, draw a line underneath there. So we've got one more example, and then we'll be done with adding and subtracting. And here it is. In our packet, we might end up with an answer that looks like this. Okay? And again, that is not written correctly for scientific notation, because the decimal needs to be behind this number. It needs to be behind the 3. So since it's not written correctly, we're going to write it in standard form. So positive 6 tells the decimal to move 6 places to the right. So it was here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Okay, so it started here, we're moving it 6 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we can take that and write it correctly in scientific notation, scientific notation. So we know the rule is it goes behind the first number that is not a 0. Copy everything else until we have only zeros, times 10 to the, so it has to be here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, we'll do a few more of those examples in our packet later. Please, again, make sure that you have everything on page 26 and 27. Go back if you need to. And remember, you can always pause the video.